Zach, hello. I have no opening bit today.
There is no opening bit.
That's correct.
We are.
This is take 3.
This is take 3, and we are breaking order, so the background is going to change and the continuity is going to be off.
Yes, that's right. We are pushing our video with redacted back a week.
We're a redacted guest who we were very happy to have.
Yep, which means that next video, Eamon's name, possibly Eamon's name is going to disappear. And if you want to be cool like Eamon, you can also subscribe to our Patreon.
Even your name will subsequently reappear in every episode we record after.
That is very correct. Zach, I have a theory for you today.
A time-sensitive one, you said.
It is.
It's being bumped up because apparently it has a risk of being debunked.
That is correct. I have a and we're doing this traditionally.
Yeah.
I have gone out of my way to get a 20-sided die, and you are going to roll it, and that is going to be your first clue.
7.
A 7, you say? Boop. Boop. Zach, you might be rolling a couple of times because this is probably not going to be helpful. Game of Thrones was bad.
Groundbreaking.
Zach, we're recording in person. Zach's eyes just went from me to the screen to me to the screen.
This is groundbreaking information to me.
Mm-hmm.
We have never had a long conversation while high and playing pool about this very concept.
Very true.
Days after the final episode.
Absolutely
have
correct.
we've mentioned the story before. Have we ever told the full story of the like seed that eventually became this show was us riffing about better things the show could have done. And then eventually we decided to, you were rereading the books. I reread the first book, which I had not done since I was in college, and honestly should have paid more attention to when I was in college. I got an audiobook, and I took it with me on road trips, and that's what rebuilt, this was awesome.
Mm-hmm. It was incredible. And then, as it was peaking in, season 4, season 5, I started to get into it.
Yeah.
And
we were in college together, and you introduced me to the show. You're like, dude, you have to watch this, which led to me throwing on the audiobooks in the background when I was gaming from time to time to get what was going to be coming. And then I watched season 5 and said, uh-oh.
Uh-huh.
I saw the show take a dip in quality and make some decisions that I knew from having speed run to the point where I could see what was going to happen next, that I had prepared for the wrong homework. And it was very apparent to me. It's like,
oh yeah,
where's Lady Stoneheart? Where's Euron Greyjoy? Where's Victarion? Why is Dorne bad? Where's Arianne Martell?
Dorne bad.
Why is
Dragon Show bad? Bad Dragon Show.
Where's Quentin? Yeah, and then that all happening in such a quick succession made me say, I'm not gonna watch seasons 6 and 7. And you watched 6 and 7. You said 6 was better than 5.
6 was very exciting.
And then you said 7 was not great, but they just have to stick to landing.
I did, and I was right.
Yeah, they just had to stick to landing.
Yeah.
Very unfortunately.
Yep, they didn't. All right, Zach, the folks at home have seen the title, so we got to keep it moving.
Oh, no.
Yes. So
I'm going to poke in some directions, or should I roll again?
I will. This might clip all of your pokes. There's almost no Game of Thrones in this theory. Almost none of the show. Oh, we rolling.
Give me a 2.
That is a 2. That makes me so happy. Zach, I have great news.
Okay.
This is a visual clue.
Oh, no.
Boop.
Oh, we're talking about George's blog posts. You can have layers in paint now.
Yeah, isn't that wild? Oh my goodness. Yeah, there you go, Zach. Just making sure it's staying on screen here. There you go. Yeah, perfect.
We're all in the gutter, but some of us are looking at the stars.
April 5th. 2024.
Who's that quote by?
Let's see. This is Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde.
Sounds like something Oscar Wilde would say.
Mm-hmm. All right, Zach. Have you figured out what we're talking about?
We're talking about the Winds of Winter.
You're damn right. We're talking
This
about
is
the
not-
Winds of Winter.
This is not an in-universe theory. We have gone full
Yeah.
clickbait tinfoil. The Winds of Winter
Yeah.
is coming out tomorrow.
Yeah. Zach, I want you to tell me what you call an ox cart that you no longer allow in your Discord server.
Nah,
That's right, Zach. We're getting on the bandwagon. That's right. Let's go. Yeah.
you can't see me. Since you only hear my voice, you can't see me looking disappointed. But that's what you should be imagining.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are trying to connect the dots.
You damn. This is like what this
So-
is a conspiracy chalkboard, Zach. This is what this is made for.
Very bad news. I've been thinking about this a lot.
Let's go.
So
I got a whole list. And Zach, for the first time.
I've got some dings in quick succession.
Let's go. Okay, what do you got?
George R. R. Martin said he won't attend Worldcon until he has the Winds of Winter update.
All right. I gotta give me a second to type, and just talk about that.
He said he's not going to go to conventions for, fantasy and science fiction authors until he has a meaningful thing he can say about his book that he has been trying to finish, The Winds of Winter, which is fair because to show up there with no new information year after year is kind of disappointing to people who come to conventions like that to talk to authors about what they've been working on, to get new details. There's a promotional quality to conventions that you want to be able to do something with. And if you got no news, why be there? But George's going to be at Worldcon this year.
So on this sheet, I have George R. R. Martin said that if he didn't have The Winds of Winter by Worldcon 2020, that they could lock him in a thing in like a cage over sulfuric acid until he finished. And then I realized that I had to correct that to we. That we.
Yeah.
Because I guess we're a part of this now.
Yeah.
If we weren't before with this video, we sure are.
I've never been one to say he's holding back the book or that it's his fault for not coming out or that he should rush it out or anything like that, or that we're owed another book. But I have been curious about the writing process, and I want to read the book, obviously.
Continue.
And I understand from an author standpoint the difficulty of finishing a project that you're happy with. I mentioned this before on our previous live stream. I had a very long editing process for my album that was in a rewriting process that was longer than the initial writing process because I had things I wasn't happy with. And it's hard sometimes to do that. So
we talked about this on the most recent live stream.
Yes. That is something that I'm going to be fascinated to hear when the book is done, what the process was, because I'm going to be able to learn from what made him take the time, re-edit things, change things, because I doubt, as some people do, that he just gave up on writing or that he wasn't writing it. A lot of people claim that he just doesn't. And if you look at his writing, he's clearly been, his blog, he's clearly been plugging away at this year after year to some amount. And something wasn't working.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that frustration as a writer. And as a musician, I get that as well. Sometimes you can get a lot of work done and still not be productive. And it's a terrible feeling because you burn through all the energy you would do for something that's productive. And then you walk away with something you can't use.
It's kind of a nightmare.
Yeah.
It's not even kind of a nightmare. It's just a nightmare. It's a terrible feeling made worse by this.
Yeah.
Right? In 2016, 2017, there were separations between George and the Game of Thrones showrunners. And like, I don't even think this is like speculation. That sucks. That makes you feel bad. It makes you feel, and when you feel bad,
he's been complaining about this recently. Recently, he said showrunners almost never make written things better. It's very rare that they do. And I can think of a few places where I disagree, but he is right that bad adaptations tend to happen more than good adaptations. You occasionally get an adaptation that improves upon the previous property. I haven't read the book of The Prestige, but everybody who's read The Prestige says the movie is better. It's the same thing with American Psycho. Everybody I know who's read American Psycho says the movie is better.
And like everyone I've ever talked to about the Lord of the Rings says the movies are better. It's
George would disagree, I think, but he's in the minority on that one.
This is a joke. This is only my opinion.
From what I've read of the books, I think the movie distilled it a little bit better. Not The Hobbit, though. The Hobbit is actually
The Hobbit is actually way better.
The problem is they added too much. They should have made one Hobbit movie.
They added bad Hobbit.
If the Hobbit was just one movie that was really well shot and acted, it would be remembered on par with the rest of the Lord of the Rings. And the fact they turned it into a trilogy is a nightmare.
Mm-hmm. It could have just been 1 3.5 hour movie.
One extra long. It doesn't even need to be 3.5 hours. Make it one like almost 3 hour movie while distilling most of the plot. Get them on the road a little bit quicker. Cut back on a few of the misadventures, have a really good Smaug scene, and have a really good fight over the last little bit of gold scene.
Like deadass, dude, and this is not relevant, but the 75 animated Hobbit has 100% of the plot beats from the book, with maybe 2 exceptions. I don't think they have Beorn, and I don't think they have the search for the Arkenstone, but like. That movie is like 50 minutes.
Yeah. In
a 2.5 hour movie, you can get the whole thing done.
Yeah.
Anyway, none of this is relevant to The Winds of Winter. Unless it is, but...
We don't know that yet.
Yeah. So, Zach, what is something that related to this that might be a ding?
So there was a blog post that we talked about a while ago.
Okay.
That was George saying the books are going to be radically different from the show.
Yeah, this is very true.
For reasons both that the show made and that I made later. The show made decisions to cut things that are important, and I have made decisions to change things that are part of my original plan, or to find importance in things the show didn't think was important, because that's my writing style. That guarantees there's going to be a separate journey to maybe a similar destination, but the path we get there is going to be very different, and it might not even be the same destination. I don't know. I haven't got there yet.
Neither have I. But like more immediately, what's something related to this?
The Game of Thrones was bad.
Game of Thrones was bad. What's the opposite of that?
It could have been good.
What's the opposite of that now?
House of the Dragons.
House of the Dragons fucking great.
It's been pretty good.
Holy shit, it's really good.
They are speed running a little bit, but notably, they have the full story to go off of for the arc they're writing.
Yeah.
Unless they decide to go off the rails at the end and do like stuff that hasn't been written yet for no particular reason.
And like this is relevant, and I'm gonna speak a little bit on like philosophy here for a second. That this how to phrase what this argumentative style that is something that I adore. I love this style that we have here because this is actually one of the ways that I convince people of things.
Conspiracy boards.
Yes, exactly. Right. Like all you do is present all of the evidence and let the people that you're talking to decide for themselves whether all of this evidence is sufficient. Right.
What they call church.
It can also be really dangerous.
Yes.
But we're talking about a fantasy series from 1996.
We're talking about whether a book is coming out this year, and you will be called out on your bullshit or accuracy within 6 months?
Yeah.
Within 6 months, this is either going to be validated as true or at the very least on the right track, or you will look like you had complete and utter tinfoil because you did, and we will know. The problem is when it becomes unknowable things or things we can directly influence the outcome of is where this gets really dangerous.
Yeah, George, we're directly influencing the outcome.
If George R. R. Martin watches this and makes a determination based on this video, whether he's releasing the book this year or not, this whole thing is tainted. George, if you're watching the video, stop right now. You've already watched and seen too much.
Yes, this video is... We'll put a disclaimer at the beginning. Anyone can watch this video except George R. R. Martin. And noted former NFL player George Martin.
What about the guy who produced for the Beatles?
George Martin?
Yeah.
He can watch.
He's dead. I guess he can't.
Damn. Got me. Okay, so...
It will be...
we are not...
To be fair to you, if
fair,
we put a... George R. R. Martin's not allowed to watch this video in front of the video, that is the one he is most likely to watch out of all of our videos.
Can we make that the thumbnail?
George R. R. Martin is not allowed
George
to watch
Martin can't watch this video.
George R. R. Martin is not allowed to watch this video.
Yeah!
That's the thumbnail.
That is pretty funny. Like Winds of Winter peeking up out the corner.
Yeah.
That is pretty funny. Okay. We are not, at this moment, I am not taking a position on whether I think that this evidence is compelling. But there's enough of it that nerds on the internet are talking about it. And I want to talk about it.
Quinn did a video recently. A couple other big Song of Ice and Fire.
Dragon Demands did one on it.
It's been the talk of Reddit recently too.
By the way, friend of the show, Michael talks about stuff.
I now can't post on a Song of Ice and Fire related subreddits anymore in case somebody recognizes me and then decides to pull through everywhere else I post, because I don't want everybody seeing my political takes and porn recommendations.
Yes.
That's on the Patreon.
Yes, we went the same way. Let's go. Yeah, you gotta pay for that. None of this is relevant. This is a serious video. So what is the consequence of Game of Thrones being bad to your writing style? What is the consequence of this? Right? Like talk to me about enthusiasm.
Well, yeah, if the ending of Game of Thrones, which is something you haven't written yet, it receives overwhelmingly negative reception.
Yeah.
You're going to take pause in your own writing. You're going to, okay, did the ending not work because they wrote it or adapted it poorly? Or do I need to go back to the drawing board?
And like more like...
While I think George is a developed enough writer to be like, if they don't like it, fuck them. I think at the same time, it is still demoralizing to see whether he does reflect and wonder if he had a part in it, or whether he is fully committed to not. They screwed the pooch on this one. It's still demoralizing.
And you know who else was reflecting on whether he had a hand in it? All the fucking fans. Yeah. All the fucking mainly show fans of the books. Can you imagine the amount of hate mail he must have gotten? Like, I'm sure it wasn't as much as the showrunners. But I don't remember. I think it was Kit Harington talk about how much hate mail he got. I bet George Martin got hundreds of letters.
Which is fun, because I don't blame the actors or George at all.
Yeah.
I do blame the showrunners. Somebody was asleep at the wheel. The buck cannot get past it ad nauseum. I blame HBO a little bit too, because I can see in some of the early things they did to try and constrain House of the Dragon, they were clearly, and also having read up on books about other shows HBO had, they've never understood their own success.
So bring me back around to the other side of this. What is the psychological impact?
Well, House of the Dragon being well received.
It's good. And
it shows that when they have the full narrative arc, they can make better decisions. Because, well, they've done some things I don't fully love with the show, especially in the first season, was mostly rushing. They have not set themselves up for failure in my eyes yet. Like, if you go back in seasons 5, 6, 7 of Game of Thrones, you can see them slouching towards disaster. They're skipping pertinent things. They're amalgamating things. They're cutting things that are going to cause problems for the ending that we know they have. If you know how it ends and you're watching season, it's like you feel like a climate scientist almost a little bit. If you know exactly how it's going to end and watch seasons 5 and 6,
like there were warning signs and we ignored them.
The Golden Company's in the last season. Where the fuck is young Griff? Where's young Griff?
Where's young Griff? God damn it.
Where the fuck is young Griff?
But like, One of my favorite posts from George Martin is his praise of Paddy Considine.
Yeah.
His praise of Viserys, saying this is one of the best. Like, can you imagine the like confidence and like comfort and like positive feelings that it brings to have the entire internet go from praising your work to detesting your work in the space of 3 years.
Yeah.
And then to flip it back the other way.
Yes.
Yeah. That this would, and I'm not saying it has, right? We're not taking a position here. I'm not saying it has. That would make writing easier for me, starting in early 2022, which is when he would have seen the first the rough cuts of the first season.
There's also a level of confidence you get in knowing that people have enjoyed something in the past that makes you more comfortable doing similar things in the future that I get with music. Whenever I have a song that's a real like hit that people say they really enjoy, I mentally compartmentalize. People liked X about this thing, which means that I'm capable of doing that and can do it again. If you want to argue that people enjoying House of the Dragon has had a positive psychological benefit, I get 2 of those every day. Sorry,
2 positive benefits.
Yes, no.
If you know what I mean.
The text message you just showed me. No, I get the argument there. I don't know. I can't speak to George R. Martin because I don't know the guy.
Oh yeah.
And how much that impacts him, but I know that that's true for me and that's true for you as well as the way that we engage in creative works is knowing that people are enjoying what we're making makes it easier to push yourself to make a little bit more.
Yeah. Like
we would not have hundreds of videos on this channel if we had 10 viewers.
Yeah. And not only that, we would not have we would not continue to make these videos if people were telling us they're dog shit.
Yeah.
Right? If
we'd have moved on to something else.
If we were getting emails, if we got hundreds of emails all saying this stuff sucks and you should stop. What happened to you? What's wrong with you? You're bad.
Yeah.
We would probably not. I would be less enthusiastic about it.
We could do it. We'd have to really hard pivot into something that is not our audience real quick.
Yeah.
That's why this thumbnail...
We're coming for you, Swifties.
Oh no! I was gonna say that's why the thumbnail for this video is a picture of George R. Martin with a red arrow saying "woke?" ?
Let's see how many thumbnails we can make for this video.
We're gonna get 8 million views and lose all of our subscribers.
Yes, but we'll gain more.
We don't want those.
They'll
subscribers.
just be different.
They'll be very bad subscribers that we don't want.
All right, Zach. There's a little bit of like philosophy of creating things in this video, right? There's a little bit of there's a little bit of motivation. There's a bunch of other stuff. What else?
In addition to there's. Any like gossip blog I just throw right in the trash, but a gossip blog said there's going to be a book release party.
Dang it.
Into the trash it goes.
Let me see.
Gossip blogs suck.
I think it's
and they're
this one.
wrong.
Yeah.
Book release party. If it ends up being right, fine. But
yep.
I've been a Smash Bros fan for too long to look at a leak and believe it's real. The Grinch leak was fake. Anything can be fake.
Wow. So Zach, you want to explain this story? This is like weird, hilarious story.
People claim that he has a book release party and it was posted to a famous gossip blog.
Yeah.
In between Taylor Swift gossip and who else do people gossip about nowadays? I feel like Taylor Swift just sort of absorbed all of it. It's all Swift coverage wall to wall.
No, sometimes it's Travis Kelce.
Yes. We're on the like we flipped to the opposite side of the Swift West paradigm that existed in like the early 2010s, by the way.
Okay.
Because they've both gone on personal journeys in very different directions.
Yeah, they're both very different people.
Then when the interrupting Taylor Swift thing happened at the VMAs. Yeah, it reads very different.
Yeah, now. Turns out, I hate to admit, it turns out he was wrong.
He should have let her finish.
Yeah, should have let her finish. He might be on more Taylor Swift tracks. Anyway, Zach on one of these like leak sites, an anonymous poster said that they heard that a catering company is
Making a dragon cake.
a prominent author in New Mexico has hired catering for a party featuring a dragon cake. And that's so goddamn funny. It's so funny that so much of the fandom has like latched onto this.
It'd be really funny if it was a different author in New Mexico.
Yeah, like Stephen King is just like his vacation home in Santa Fe.
No, Paolini moved to New Mexico.
Yeah.
And nobody knows yet.
Yeah, Christopher Paolini. It's just like the next Murtaugh book.
Yeah, I'm gonna celebrate in my brand new home that I never told anybody about in Albuquerque.
Oh man, that's really funny, dude.
Yeah. No. Okay.
But, again, all we're doing is assembling the. We're just assembling the evidence. We're just.
I've also heard people say he could just be having a big party because he's doing a House of the Dragon, like, you know, episode party, right? Like,
Yeah,
an episode
like-
that he particularly wants to watch with his like friend, because he has a ton of friends and authors and people he works with, including people who help him manage the like Westeros stuff, that would want to have a big celebration for any of the things they're having right now.
Yeah,
Duncan Egg is getting turned into a show.
Dang.
Oh.
Continue.
There are plenty of reasons for him to be celebrating right now. The cake does not necessarily mean the book is finished. It doesn't necessarily mean it isn't. And also, it might just be complete bullshit. So I feel like this is the weakest evidence. At least with Not a Blog, we know this is George R. R. Martin speaking to us directly. If we're trying to read tea leaves that he gave us, at least we know the authenticity of these tea leaves.
Yes, we know at the very least that he drank out of this cup.
Yes.
Yes. However, it's I think that the most likely reason for that is I really like what we got going right now. You're taking the skeptical view and I'm taking the enthusiastic view. This is great.
Because that way it's guaranteed by the end of this year. One of us will have all of our arguments age horribly.
Yes.
Wonderfully, there's a scenario where they both age horribly.
What scenario? Oh, that all of this was bad evidence, but it gets released anyway.
George R. R. Martin specifically says, yeah, none of this was true. Incidentally,
George R. Martin says I watched your video and all of this is wrong, but I am releasing the book.
Incidentally, in October, I did cocaine on a bender for 2 weeks and finished the book then.
Oh my god!
I was actually nowhere close when this video came out, but Stephen King hooked me up with some cocaine and.
Cocaine on a Bender is my favorite Futurama episode.
I know he quit, but he found his house from the... Sorry. That took a second to process. That's pretty good. Stephen King went back to his old house from the 80s, and it's like, oh, wow. Ooh, I did not do a good job cleaning this out when I moved to, like, my other two houses. George, here, take some of this. You'll get your book done.
I hear it gets more potent with age. Writers, not cocaine. I think the most likely reason for this is a House of the Dragon finale watch party, right?
Yeah.
Because if I was doing it, like if someone turned my thing into a show,
yeah. Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah,
we'd be partying at your house.
you're
Yeah.
damn right.
It's the same. If anybody ever does like a musical adaptation of an album I've made, like holy shit, we're partying. The whole crew's going out and we're getting crunk afterwards. Are you fucking kidding me? Yeah.
All right, Zach, you got a ding a minute ago.
I did.
The Hedge Knight will be a lot shorter than Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon, with a much different tone, but it's still Westeros, so no one is truly safe. Ira Parker and his team are doing a great job. I hope to come to the shoot in July when I swing by Belfast on my way to Worldcon in Glasgow. The show will make its debut next year, and if it does well, the Sworn Sword and Mystery Night will follow. By which time, I hope to have finished some more Duncan Egg stories. Yes, after I finish The Winds of Winter.
Which makes it seem like he thinks that's a realistic schedule, right? Because, so the idea is that there's going to be I believe they want a Duncan Egg one that comes out every other year.
I believe that is correct. Which would mean...
He's got 6 years, 5 years, whatever.
About 5 years.
To finish Winds and then write multiple new Duncan Egg stories to continue. And so he believes, at the very least, in 5 years, he could turn around the Winds of Winter and the She-Wolves of Winterfell, or whatever the next Duncan Egg novella is.
Yep. At the very least, he said both of those things are not only feasible, but that is the current plan.
Which you would not say if you weren't optimistic that you could get The Winds of Winter out in 3 years. If it was going to be more than 3 years, you wouldn't promise another book only 2 years after that, even if it's a novella.
And like, so the premiere of that Duncan Egg, so 5/7/9/2031 would be the premiere of the new stuff. It needs to be written by 2030. Shooting needs to be done in 2030.
And so it needs to be written in 2029.
It needs to be written and released, which means it needs to be written and sent for editing
In 2028.
in 2028 or early 2029.
Or at the very least, he has to start in 2027 to be on schedule.
Yes, and if he has to start by 2027, he likes his breaks.
He needs to be done early 2026.
Winds needs to be done sometime in 2026 or very early 2027 in order for that timeline to work. And of course, like, he's not like, he doesn't have this on his calendar, right? He's not like, he hasn't made this as an appointment, but this is very, very worth. Zach has started laughing, and I don't know why. Zach has looked down. He's gripping his nose, which he does when he thinks something's really funny, but that he shouldn't be laughing at it.
This is a bit I should not go on to, and I will.
You can you can check.
We're already
You know
editing.
what? Stop making me edit things. I have to hunt for these things.
You might be able to keep this. So George R. R. Martin comes out and holds up a copy of The Winds of Winter, and he's like, "This year, 2024, this fall."
All right.
He turns around and he says, "That's not all." And Gabe Newell comes out. Half-Life 3. Same day, you will be able to play this game. Comes out with The Winds of Winter. And he turns around and says, "That's not all." And all of Team Cherry comes out with a copy of Silk Song and says, "Hollow Knight fans, on the same day you get The Winds of Winter and Half-Life 3, you're getting Silk Song."
And then the camera zooms out, and it turns out we were recording all three of their avatars within GTA 6.
Which is coming out this fall. And then Joe Biden's avatar walks out with sunglasses on and says, "But only if you vote."
Zach, I need to leave in 70 minutes.
Is that not the funniest thing you've heard all day?
I can't dispute that. That is pretty funny. Oh man. Okay. Oh, I accidentally cut off the bottom of the word different. Oh well. All right, Zach. Yeah. So this is what. Okay. What are we thinking here? What are you thinking so far?
I think
We got the hedge knight, right?
I think that George R. R. Martin, at the very least, is more optimistic than he has ever been that he is getting the book done relatively soon. Whether that means it's done, or he has a plan to get it done by the end of the year, or that he is good at making predictions of his own writing, which he has said multiple times he's not. But at the very least, he is more confident, and he knows more about The Winds of Winter than any other human being on the planet.
Duncan Egg 4 would need to be done by 2027 to 28 for this to be feasible. Ooh, you ready? We are going to tie visual stuff into our chalkboard here. Ready?
Yeah.
I've been practicing this. Ooh, and then we do one of these. Okay, I can do better. Ooh. Right, it's like a pin.
It's like a pen, yeah.
Yeah. Ah.
Have you seen the Jenny Nicholson Vampire Diaries video?
No.
She has a conspiracy board behind her with pins and tacks and post-it notes, and I felt so represented.
Felt represented as an underrepresented.
It's an underrepresented conspiracy board enjoyer. It was nice to know there's bigger YouTubers out there on the same wavelength.
All right, Zach. This is of course not all I have. We talked about it briefly. Big shout outs to Michael Talks About Stuff and Quinn the GM.
Yes.
Who have made, I think, extraordinary comprehensive videos on this subject. I say comprehensive. They made extraordinary videos on the subject, but I did not feel that they brought in 100% of the evidence.
Do you have the blog post where George talks about how his writing's going down a bit different path? We did a whole video on it.
I don't have it in front of me, but yeah, like up here we have that he said the books would be different. I do have another interesting blog post.
You have the one that says words of wisdom.
Oh yeah. Oh, I sure do. Is it this one? No, that's hang on. Is that one? Hang on. That's the one with Teddy Roosevelt. Which I guess is the next one we're talking about it because I just like pulled it up.
What's the Teddy quote he's got?
Will this work? Will it work? Oh, it will. Look at that. Whoa. How did that happen? Interesting.
Words of wisdom. No, this is what I was talking about.
Yeah.
What's the Teddy Roosevelt quote?
Far and away, the best prize that life has to offer is the chance to work hard at work worth doing.
I believe that truly and fully. It also sucks, Teddy. You have to understand. You understood that better than most. It's called delayed gratification, and it sucks until it doesn't. And then it's really awesome.
And we have.
And then it's really, really awesome.
And Zach, we have this alien.
The alien.
We have this alien here. You see this?
The alien is in both of these.
See this alien?
How often does the alien get used?
I have great news.
Is he just use the alien? Like, did he use the alien on just something talking about somebody else's work that he liked?
No. He uses it on occasion, but extremely rarely on posts this sparse.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Is it because aliens land in The Winds of Winter? Is that the twist that he's It's a UFO crashing.
Zach, I have one more like similar blog post. Would you like me to go ahead and throw it up?
Yes. Yeah, do it.
Boop.
Another words of wisdom.
This one's Faulkner.
Which says
dreams have only one owner. One owner at a time. That's why dreamers are lonely.
And that one has a blue flower.
It does. It has a blue rose. And Zach, I don't know about you. That rose seems vaguely familiar.
Well, the blue flowers are a thing with this world.
That's correct.
It's associated with Liana very specifically, and with others magic possibly, maybe.
Well,
we don't know for sure.
Yeah, it's associated with John's dreams at the wall. We know.
Yeah,
we'll
and
do it this way. That's fine. Zach, riff on this while I'm trying desperately to make this work.
No, everybody's gonna watch you draw a circle poorly multiple times. Everybody,
if
you listen to this like a podcast, you're missing the best content of this episode.
This is the most insane one we've had so far, for sure.
This is definitely the most detailed conspiracy board.
It actually needs to go to the top, doesn't it? Yeah, right there. Okay, click right there, and then right here, and then right here. Fine.
You didn't close the button. The pin's falling apart structurally. No, you didn't need to delete the whole thing. I was just giving you shit.
All right, Zach. You'll note something about this, right?
It looks like the share button.
What? Oh. Okay. We're getting rid of it. I've become self-conscious.
Aren't you glad you tabbed over to watch this? It was fine.
Zach, this is a serious video.
It's fine when it looked like the share button. You can go back.
This is a serious video.
You gotta link
do the video.
It's not connected. You have to
do it.
You have to link it back.
I'm working on it. You have to be entertaining.
Yeah, you just like slipped into Jack Nicholson there for a second.
Entertaining.
You gotta be entertaining.
You gotta be entertaining.
I
don't want to kill you. I just want to release the winds of winter.
It's the critic made fun of Christian Slater for copying Jack Nicholson's mannerisms. He says, "That's a freaking lie."
It's a freaking lie, bud.
That's a freaking lie.
Okay, we'll do it this way. Zach is still not talked about.
No, everybody is watching and making you really self-conscious of your drawing right now. There we go. Okay, so let's talk about the Winds of Winter. Tom has zipped his lips in front of me, and now I have to riff the whole thing. I'm getting no help. Let's talk about the Winds of Winter. The book.
Live with me in this conspiracy space for a moment.
I am. If you are writing the Winds of Winter and you're turning a corner, these are things you want to be thinking about, right? Writing, if the Winds of Winter is the turn of the story, right? If it is the beginning of the third act, or the climax of the second act, or whatever you want to call it, the climax of the story, then it is the heart of this work. It is, if this is your greatest work, if this is what you will be remembered for until nobody remembers you anymore, you need to stick the landing on the Winds of Winter, which makes it very hard to write.
Very true.
Which makes that Roosevelt quote very pertinent. The Dreamers is like a dual meaning, right? Mm-hmm. Dreams and like the magic of dreams in this universe are a hugely important part of the story. And for George, this is his dream to finish this world that he's built, to write a story in here from beginning to end with this detail and scope of a fantasy world. I can see all these being hints of where he's at in the writing process. People not wanting to directly state how it's going, so he does not get people's hopes up, but to plant little seeds of, yeah, I'm still writing. And it's going okay. I could see that.
Uh-huh.
I feel like I would post teases like that if I had a prominent blog and a lot of people caring about what came out next. I could see putting a teaser too.
These things are such an interesting departure from his usual post style.
It's usually shouting out other authors and shows that he likes. It's usually shouting out HBO things that are going on. And occasionally talking about like an award ceremony that he went to or something like that.
Yes.
Convention that he went to.
When he is talking about writing, he talks about his garden, right? He talks at length. He's a fantastic writer, by the way.
Yeah.
For real, like, go check out his blog. Just like scroll back a couple of months and just he really is a beautiful writer.
Yeah.
He spends 150 words describing the feeling that he gets staring at a blank page.
Yeah.
He doesn't do
did that too.
He doesn't do thumb up alien.
No.
Very much.
No.
This is a departure.
These are very brief and do not contain his own words.
Yes. One of them contains a blue flower.
Which it cannot not be a hint.
Yes.
Because he knows immediately. He's self-aware, right? He didn't, oh, it's a pretty blue flower. Uh-oh, I completely forgot that blue flowers are an important part of the lore of this story I've spent the last several decades of my life writing.
Yeah.
No.
Don't worry, James. These are not the last several decades of your life.
That's not what I meant, but I get.
Yeah. I have more.
I mean, I guess if like several can get up to 7, these are like he has lived the last several decades of his life. Well, no, he hasn't lived all of them, but because he's 75 right now. But the last several decades of your life could be from when you're like 30 to 100.
That is the last. You're right. He is 75. So like mathematically, he must be in the last several decades of his life.
If he did,
unless he lives to like 180.
Look, technology is going to get better, George, but I don't know if it's going to get better that quick. You have to freeze yourself.
I have faith. I would love more books.
I would love more books.
If
you have to freeze yourself, do it.
Yeah. We already have this. The Duncan Egg Show is currently in pre-production. No, not even pre-production. It's just in production. It's being shot right now.
They've the first pictures of it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. What do you think of this one? In summer 2023, George Martin asked his writing team, his publishing team, to hold on side projects. I believe specifically to hold on all side projects. I believe that it was the coloring book, specifically the coloring book at that time. That was the one that was like notably stopped, but there was also like another illustrated history book, and a couple other
others,
small
yeah.
things. Yes.
It sounds like they had an all hands meeting.
Yes. Zach, why might want to have an all hands meeting?
We have a main series book coming out.
Yeah.
We need to pivot all resources to making a plan to get that out. I anticipate it'll be done in X amount of months, and I want to make sure that it can immediately get the art. It can immediately get the forward from another author that we need to reach out to somebody from, or like the press release plan to get some quotes on the back from different literary critics, stuff like that. When you make a book that's going to have a physical copy and an audiobook on day one, you have a rollout that you plan. Even in smaller projects, you typically plan a rollout a month ahead of time. I planned at least a couple weeks ahead of time to roll out for my album, and I had no listeners because it was my first one. I knew I was going to get some of y'all, and that was it. And like maybe some friends and some other people who know my music from other places. George R. R. Martin knows that over 1 million books are going to be sold, right? Or close to that, probably, right?
It's got to be more, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's got to be a lot more.
And the retailers are going to want it. Literary critics are going to want a first peek. If he can't just flop the book out and say, okay, here it is. He needs to have all the prep work done ahead of time. With a product that big, you cannot do that. Also, here's a publisher involved. The publisher can't just have him flop the book out and say, okay, take care of it. He needs to give him heads up.
A Dance with Dragons sold 298,000 books the first day.
Yeah. He needs all of the... And his fan base has only grown since that day, because that was the first season of the show when Dance came out.
Yep.
There are probably 5 to 10 times as many people who want to read Winds as there were when Dance came out. This man needs a plan to get this out, to get this disseminated so people can get it in their preferred medium. They can get it at bookstores, they can get it digitally, they can get it as an audiobook. There is somebody narrating the audiobook, so it's, not just Joe Schmo from Audible reading it. They actually get somebody who's a, actor associated with one of the shows, or somebody who can do a really good Roy Dotrice impression.
Yeah, because in today's day and age, it used to be the case that you could I remember when Harry Potter 7 came out.
Yeah.
The audiobook did not come out until almost a year later, I think.
But that was before Audible.
Yes. Now, so many of the fans listen exclusively. You need to have an audiobook ready on launch day, right?
Yeah.
It needs to be sold on launch day.
And like you want to do quality. I was really bummed. Somebody I know and worked with has a pretty popular book that was on Audible. I'm like, yes, I can't wait to hear him narrate it. And it's narrated by some random guy, and I'm like, oh, that's a bummer. I would imagine if they got name withheld upon request to narrate The Winds of Winter, or just some guy with generic okay speaking voice you've never heard before. No, he set up standards in those previous ones with Roy Dotrice doing different voices and coming up with weird pronunciations on the fly and then just committing to them.
Brian,
Pitire, Dampfair.
I love... Sidebar. Brief sidebar. We'll come back to conspiracy in a moment. Brief sidebar. Who would you try to get to... I have a couple pitches, but who would you try to get to do the audiobook for The Winds of Winter?
Get one of the big name actors from Game of Thrones.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
A bunch of different voices.
Yep, absolutely.
If you can get Sean Bean to do it, like that sells people on the audiobook.
Yeah, absolutely.
Narrated by Sean Bean.
Oh, hell yeah, right? Yeah. Hell yeah, we're doing Sean Bean.
Narrated by Mark Addy. Fuck yeah.
Oh, that's a good one too.
Let's
see who
Aidan
else.
Gillen.
Sure. Kit Harington would be great. Absolutely.
If you want to get Emilia Clarke, yeah, why not?
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely. If you get one of the big name actors to say I'm back, and especially if their character is still alive and says a lot of dialogue, they can do it in the voice.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, all the Daenerys scenes, Emilia Clarke is going to get right into her Dany voice every time she does Dany.
We talked about this when I was doing my most recent re-listen of Lord of the Rings, where it's narrated by Andy Serkis. And man, when the Smeagol voice comes out, it's really good. It's really good. His Smeagol voice has gotten better. Much better with time.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And that would be great. And that is something you need to give an actor who is doing movies and television 6 months, 9 months notice. Can you do this? Ooh, Is it Liam Cunningham?
Liam Cunningham.
That's
Davos.
my pick. Davos is my pick. Liam
That's
Cunningham
good.
is my pick for the narrator.
I think that I might still roll Sean Bean because I would wager that there is at least going to be some
Hype, yeah.
no, well, there's going to be some flashbacks with
Oh.
Ned Stark in them.
Oh yeah.
And there's going to be some
Time travel shenanigans.
Yeah, there's going to be time, and there's going to be John remembering Ned's words at least a few times, unless John is just dead.
That'd be funny.
Which
That'd
is
be
possible.
funny.
Yeah, John could just be a ghost. John could just be a
ghost.
He could just be a dog the entire book, which is fine. All right, Zach. Now I would like to turn my attention fully to Michael Talks About Stuff, who I think has given one of the best arguments. Did you watch Michael Talks About Stuff's most recent video? You can say yes and then shake your head, and I'll move forward saying that you did and acting like you didn't.
I don't know if I have or not because we talked to him about some of this, and I watched a little bit of the video, but I don't think I watched the whole thing.
I've watched it 4 times.
Okay,
it's really good. Go watch Michael's newest video.
By the time this episode airs, I will have watched it.
Okay. This is his argument. Feast for Crows came out in 2005. Boop boop boop. A Dance with Dragons.
2010.
Dance with Dragons came out in 2011.
2011.
Yeah, basically, yeah. It doesn't really make a difference. And it is now 2024 ? So it was like, and then we can say we can move back a little bit. Yeah, why would we not just get all of them? It is Game of Thrones, 1996. Boop boop. A Clash of Kings.
1998.
1999.
No. I thought it was almost right after, and then it was 2000 or 2001 for.
Yep. And then A Storm of Swords. 2000. I think it's 2000.
Game of Thrones 1996.
Yeah.
Clash of Kings 1998.
Okay.
Storm of Swords 2000.
Oh, okay. Yep.
A Feast for Crows 2005.
Okay.
The Dance of Dragons 2011.
Perfect. So the last few books have gone 3 years, 5 years, 6 years.
Yeah.
3 years, 5 years, 6 years. So it seems to be expanding. The current gap we're on is 13 years. That's a lot. That's pretty sizable.
It's 2 years. 3, but yes. 2, 5.
2, 3, 5, 6.
2, 3.
The last few have gone 3, 5, 6. Yeah. I'm not counting the first one because George actually finished it in 1991.
And it was a while before it got
yeah, and I would not want to speculate on like the writing processes of a sequel to a book you're not sure is going to get published. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So 3 years, 5 years, 6 years are the last few. So they're expanding something like 5 or 6 years for the last couple of books.
Yeah.
That have been quite large and quite interesting.
Yeah.
Right? Quite complicated. Michael brought up something very interesting from the fandom circa 2016, 17, 18.
Yeah.
That in 2016, 17, there started to come a lot of leaks.
Yeah.
A notable amount. More leaks than, like, even the standard, like, spans.
Yes. And this is another period of time where leaks or rumors have been very condensed. It's not us tea leaf reading something that happened 9 months ago and then a trickle thing. These are all pretty much within the last, like, couple months.
all of this stuff that we're talking about here is from this year, right? This
Or
is all
late
relevant
last
to this year.
year.
Yes. This is in summer 2023, but is affecting the 2024 publication schedule. That's what it is.
Yes.
WorldCon 2024, right? This is all recent.
Yeah, and 2023 was all prep stuff, which means it could not have been for later that year. You don't gather somebody to prep for a book release in the fall of 2023, in the summer of 2023. There's not enough time. Yeah.
And in 2016, George was getting pushed to, like, they wanted to get publication out for the season 6, 7 of Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah.
They wanted to. That was George's last sample chapter. Was 2016. There's a lot of hype, a lot of leaks saying that that publication schedules have been moved around at Banta Books, right? That things are moving, and that in 2018, it came out that George. It was rumored through one of these leaking sites that George delivered a full manuscript to his editor in 2016, in late 2016. And Michael speculates, and I find it extremely compelling. Michael speculates that a full copy of The Winds of Winter was delivered to his publisher in 2016 for release in 2017. And he sat down with his publisher, and they realized that it didn't work.
His editor said, I don't know how to pare this down without cutting out major things. There's things that the publisher was not sure upon. And George was part of that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And he went back to the drawing board to take what he had and fix it, which, as I mentioned, at least for me, is a longer process than writing it in the first place.
Yes.
Is taking something that was written and did not deliver on what you wanted and fixing it can be just as long, if not longer, than writing it in the first place.
You've actually, interestingly, gone in a different direction than Michael speculates. We'll come back to that in a minute.
I think Michael speculates he wrote a whole new book.
Yeah,
I think either is compelling, yes.
With The Feast for Crows, he basically wrote every single page in succession and never went back and reread. Right? He wrote every page and never returned to a previous until the end, when he went back and started to do rewrites and edits.
Yes.
Michael speculates that with The Winds of Winter, he did something similar. He wrote 1,500 pages, and when he went back to edit, he was like, oh shit, the logic fully doesn't work with the way like these 4 characters interact or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Like the whole Meereen bit in The Myronese Knot.
Which is why he was having difficulty finishing A Dance with Dragons.
That's why it took so long.
He actually rewrote a lot of it. And that's why we have sample chapters of Dance that didn't end up making it from an earlier manuscript that he had to cut and change. We know the prologue chapter is radically different.
Yes.
We know there are earlier versions of Dany's chapters. We know that there was full on a version of it where Barristan never showed up, right? Or Barristan never was a point of view character, rather, I think, right?
Yeah, yep.
He still showed up because he was there. He did not take on the role that he was supposed to take on. By giving us the eyes of somebody who is completely unattuned to the culture there, he was able to carry out the plot in a way that was more meaningful.
Yes. Yep. His perspective was really valuable in untying that knot.
Yes.
Michael speculates that when The Winds of Winter was delivered in 2016, 2017, that there were multiple Myronese knots. And with the Meereen chapters, George had to rewrite Tyrion, Dany, Quentyn, and Barristan, right? Those
he had to completely change Quentyn. He had to invent a Barristan POV, whole cloth. Yep. And he had to, presumably, I think Tyrion probably showed up immediately and took on Barristan's role. And then he realized, I have not, because you think about what happens in the show, that is the knot they cut. They kill off Barristan and Tyrion shows up way earlier without going on all of his journeys.
Yeah, that does make for a simpler, like, cleaner story.
Yeah. Tyrion is eventually supposed to show up in Dany's court, but he wants to have Tyrion be a more like different and complicated character. He has to go on a fields trip before that. He has to think about where whores go. He has to almost get grayscale. He has to meet another Targaryen who thinks he might be a better ruler than Dany, or the character arc that he probably wants Tyrion to have. Because if he just shows up and immediately starts helping Dany, he hasn't had a lot of time to grow as a character or to have things to contrast Dany with, if he is going to be a major player in Dany's downfall or madness or whatever her character arc is. Which is why he needed to put Barristan in there to hold the line. Mm-hmm. That way, you can split up things Tyrion needs to do with Barristan if you keep him around longer too. Barristan can be the one who is a Dany diehard until he meets Jon, where Tyrion's more pragmatic, or Barristan can become disillusioned with Dany first because he's been around longer and is seeing the change before Tyrion does. It gives him more options if he does that. What he probably did was he wrote himself into a corner in his first draft with a couple of the characters, and he needed more options because he is a gardener in his writing. He needs to give himself multiple ways to get where he needs to go. He talks about writing as a road trip as well. I know roughly where I'm going to end up and some things I might stop at along the way, but I have no idea which roads I'm taking and how long I'm staying somewhere. If you're doing that, you can't get on a one-lane highway, right? That has a toll to get on and a toll to get out. You can't go somewhere without stopping for gas and checking out the gas station and grabbing some snacks. You need to be able to have options for what your trip is going to look like if you're driving that way. I know I've done it many a time.
I agree wholeheartedly. Oh, that looks weird now. I like it. So I don't know what it could be because, frankly, like, if you asked me to speculate on what was going to happen at the end of A Dance with Dragons, given only the beginning of A Dance with Dragons, I would have no idea, right?
Yeah.
The game is very different by the end.
Yes.
The board state is radically different.
And the characters have changed dramatically that we get point of views of quite a bit.
Yes.
You get Cersei from, like, almost sort of having, like, a competent government in a position that, like, you'd have to piss away to not be able to fight a war. And every single one of her chapters is getting rid of all the competent people, bringing in idiots and people who are going to betray her, and pissing away her entire advantage. And if she T-posed and we didn't get her perspective for the whole book, when she gets bodied by young Griff, it'd be like, how she had the army that won the War of the Five Kings and the fealty of all these other lords. How the hell did she piss away her advantage? Now we know how she pissed away her advantage.
Yes.
We got the chapters. We got Aurane Waters to show up, be like, oh, I'm so attractive. Give me all your votes. And it worked. And it's ridiculous it's ridiculous in a way it's justified because we got perspective of it. We got to see her make a really dumb decision. We understood why she did it. We understood the consequences. This is the opposite of the show where Dany just kind of forgot about everything.
She did. She kind of forgot about a lot, let's be honest.
Yeah. A lot of the characters kind of forget about things and we never see the justified reasons. Because, yeah, in a one-sentence version, if it was never shown in a chapter, if George ever explained Cersei didn't have boats because she gave them to a hot guy because he was hot and then he became a pirate and sat out the entire war, you'd look at the book and be like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What the fuck just happened, George?
Correct.
But you get a full chapter or two of her being like, man, that guy's hot. I should give him a bunch of boats.
Yeah, her being thirsty about this boat guy and giving him boats.
Yeah. Then all of a sudden, you don't blame the author. You blame Cersei for being a fucking idiot.
Yes.
Which is good writing.
And can you imagine George, like getting to the point where Cersei gives boat guy boats?
Yeah.
And looking back and realizing it is not adequately justified.
Yeah.
You then need to go back and rewrite that. But rewriting that has her interactions with Jaime being different. If you need to rewrite that chapter,
you need to rewrite Jaime.
Her Jaime's departure from King's Landing now needs to be in a different place.
Yeah.
And if Jaime's departure in King's Landing is in a different place, then the Blackfish might not get to the Brotherhood Without Banners in an adequate period of time to connect with what's her name? Jane Westerling at the beginning of the next book. Or he might not get to the Riverlands in time to meet up with Brienne.
And they get jetpack problems that the show has.
Exactly, yes.
Because the another thing that people like is the world feels real and lived in. And when characters travel, they do it slowly and intentionally. And then you can sort of justify in the earlier seasons Littlefinger's jetpack from seasons like 3 and 4, 2, 3, and 4, because we're getting through the story quicker, and he also has the advantages of the crown to move him around quickly. He can get a covered wagon. He can get a boat whenever he goes. He's
moving at remarkable speeds, not magical speeds.
Yes. You can justify that with Euron, who's moving at magical speeds, but you can't have like
how else would he be Dario?
Yeah, exactly. You can't have Brienne of Tarth show up somewhere 40 miles away 2 chapters afterwards and then pretend it's only been a week,
Yep.
right?
There is 1 week
She's
between.
taking a horse, maybe.
There is 1 week between every Brienne chapter, at least, right?
Yeah.
She takes her sweet ass time. She like clip clops from place to place, and I love her.
Yeah. And if the story ends with Brienne at the wall with Jon and crew,
yes,
she can't go from Harrenhal, ruminate there, and do like a trial with Jaime, and then 3 chapters later be high-fiving Tormund. That can't happen. You need to have her. She should stop at White Harbor and meet the Manderleys, or she should stop and meet the Reeds at Greywater Watch. Maybe she accidentally stumbles upon Greywater Watch while going through the swamp. There's all awesome story potential there that George wants to write.
Yeah, if she needs to interact with Mage Mormont, who is currently at Greywater Watch or near Greywater Watch.
Yeah.
If she needs to interact with Mage Mormont, but Mage Mormont needs to have some interaction with Stannis, and Stannis needs to die, right? If all these things are, and I'm not saying that all these things are true, but if all these things are true, the timeline on that is real tight.
Yeah. And it has to happen all in the right order. It doesn't make sense.
Exactly. And if you get to the end and you're like, oh shit, the only way this works is if Brienne spends like 7 months at Greywater. She has to sit at Greywater Watch waiting for Mage to get back. Otherwise the timeline just doesn't work.
You need to give her a side quest that she's going on, or move the order around.
Or you need to redo Mage's order, or you need to decide that Stannis has to do something in the interim, or scrap the whole thing.
Yeah.
And if you scrap the whole thing, then whatever the consequences of those things were, you need to rewrite. And if you hand this to your, like, this is me sitting in front of the editor, right? We're sitting and we've been sitting here for a week, right? We've been going through these things for a week.
We have a conspiracy board.
Literally, I was about to say, we've like pinned them up on the walls, and we're like, okay, this happens here, and this happens. And you've taken the book apart, right? And you're like, all the papers are on the ground.
Yeah.
You're like, this has to happen here, but for this to happen here, this has to happen first. But Jon doesn't come back until this point. If Jon comes back too early, it's not going to have emotional weight. And
then you have to worry about. It would also suck if the book is characters vamping around and mostly walking, and then there's 8 chapters in a row where everything happens, and then nothing happens for another long while, and then there's 4 chapters where everything happens, then there's like 2 chapters of nothing, and then 1 epilogue and the book ends.
Yeah.
It would feel like there's 2 points. And also, he set himself up for a bunch of things that go off at the very beginning of the book, of which the timing is also pertinent as well.
Yeah, the timing is also, and he can't rewrite the timing on those. The timing on those is already written, right?
Yeah.
Because he's expressed this in the past. I don't have this written down, but he's expressed in the past that there's at least one character he regrets killing off.
Yes.
Presumably because if he had killed him off in The Winds of Winter instead, he could rewrite the timing on it and give that individual a few more things to do to make things easier.
And give some more information to audience in a way that he is now struggling to divulge.
Mm-hmm. Who's a good example?
We talked about this a little bit.
Who did we settle on?
I don't know. I think Kevin was a compelling answer.
Yeah. If he hadn't killed off Kevin, then
the thing is, you made the compelling argument. He could just have Kevin wake up at the beginning of the next book.
Like in Varys's keeping or something like that.
Yeah, we see him getting stabbed. We don't see a funeral, so the George R. Martin rules. He comes back with massive scars, barely alive. We could have Kevin or Pycelle if we really needed them. Pycelle's harder because he's super dead when Kevin finds him.
So let's use Pycelle as the example.
Yeah.
Pycelle is dead. Pycelle had interactions with Tywin. If he knows, maybe he knows where Tysha is, and maybe that's like plot relevant.
Yeah.
I actually wrote this down. I was going to have this as a Y episode. When Tyrion asks Tywin, "Where do whores go?" Tywin says, "Why would I know where Tysha is? I assume that the Seneschal saw to it. I assume the steward saw to it." And that's an interesting line because it implies that
there's a steward who knows exactly where she is.
Yes. that Steward might have been, might have answered directly to Kevin Lannister, right?
Yeah.
That is a natural progression.
Kevin was intimately involved in his brother's government,
Mm-hmm.
and he might have been. We don't know what it looked like at Casterly Rock, but we know he had government experience underneath his brother. He talks about it.
Yeah, talks about it all the time. Yeah,
and that's why that's why Varys has to kill him. He's the only guy who has a resume left in all of King's Landing. Boat guy fucked off for his pirate plot.
Yep, boat guy's gone. Cersei.
There's a bunch of other dumbasses in power who are doing stupid shit. Mace Tyrell is an idiot. He actually is a genius, but he's outsmarting Varys. Basically, the two competent people who can do their jobs are Pycelle and Kevin, and if he needs an incompetent King's Landing, he can't risk them being more competent than he's considered. Kill them both. But then, anything that Kevin has the agency to do as a character is completely out of the story.
Yes. And it actually makes me wonder if that's why Quentin isn't dead yet at the end of the book.
So he left room for Quentin to... Quentin could be a corpse, or he could be alive long enough to do one or two more things.
Yes.
Because he has information.
Or he could be a different guy. Yes. Wait, did they bury him at the end? He might be dead.
Somebody who is burnt beyond recognition dies.
He is dead. That person in that bed is dead. Okay,
they believe so. Yes.
Okay. Well,
not yet. I'm not yet dead is a common George R. R. Martin theme. So,
and do you see why I'm so compelled by Michael's argument here?
We are already finding things that if I assigned you to write The Winds of Winter and you were mad enough to take that,
mad enough to try,
like Preston, yeah.
Shout out to you, Preston.
Shout out to Preston. We love you.
What a baller.
We love you. You're writing one of the hardest things to write.
We love you, and you're insane.
That's a tough task to write all of those things in a way that is consistent, and you can release it one chapter at a time, but you can bottleneck probably.
Yeah,
you can bottleneck yourself. You can write yourself into a corner.
Absolutely.
Where things that are crucial need to be written, and it's hard to write them.
Mm-hmm. So, suppose it's 2016, 2017. George Martin has submitted this, and it's the end of 2016, and you've been in this room with your editor for 2 months, and you're both sitting on this comfy chair, and neither of you has said it yet, and eventually George is like, I gotta fucking redo it.
Yeah.
And this in that defeated tone, I gotta fucking do it. It's not savable. I gotta fucking do it again. Right? I have to rewrite 80% of it because the timing just doesn't work. And that and there was a really consistent time where this was in Captain Time's video, where 3 or 4 times over the history he said it could be ready in 6 months.
Yeah.
And that is definitely the phrasing of a person with with rewrites to do.
It's like someone who has multiple projects in different stages of completion. There are some where I could say that video could be out in 72 hours, and there are some where I can say that album might be out in a month and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And there's others where I'm like, dude, I don't fucking know, because they're not close enough to it, what I consider a finished product, to even speculate.
And
when you're speculating on the this year scale for a book, it's fucking dumb. It just needs edits. Yeah.
And suppose it just needs edits, and you get to the end of that 6 months, and you've edited 250 pages, and you're like, shit, now I need to rewrite all of Griff's chapters.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Right? You get to the end of it, and you're like, 6 months to rewrite Griff's chapters? That's all I gotta do. You get to the end of Griff's chapters, and now suddenly you have to rewrite all of Cersei's chapters. Because all of Cersei's chapters are fucking terrible. And then is the year of our Lord 2022, and you release a blog post saying, guys, I fucking finished all of Cersei's chapters.
Yeah.
I killed them.
Which means I have solved at least part of the log.
Yeah. Right. I found the end of the terrible Scooby-Doo doors that I found the one that leads out.
Well, and he said it was a clutch of Cersei chapters that have been giving him some trouble. they might have been hard to finish writing, but they also might have been hard to fit in the timeline.
Mm-hmm.
And if things need to be happening in King's Landing and in the Southern Kingdoms to inform the Northern plot, when they happen is crucial.
Yes.
Because if there's a stable government in King's Landing when they're like, hey, the dead are invading, somebody there might have means to say, well, hold on. Sue for like a stalemate with young Griff, we can at least entrench ourselves and save up food supply to fight the dead, and we can resume this whole Civil War nonsense when there isn't a cataclysmic planet-ending fight. Cersei is one of the people who's dumb enough to not make that deal. Griff is one of the people crazy enough to make that deal and then betray it 6 months in. But if they're both dead before that person comes down, and like Varys is young Griff's advisor, he's a rational man, all things considered.
Yeah, he's like, oh shit, ice zombies. We do gotta take care of that.
Yeah, I'll return to scheming once we have saved the world.
Whereas Cersei will not respond to ice zombies until they are like at Rosby.
Yeah. She is like climate denier coded.
Yes. What a fun sentence. And then of course we haven't even talked about Daenerys. I have no idea what Daenerys is going to do. What the hell does her timeline look like? I assume she goes to Westeros.
And also, if she has the time to swing by and kill Cersei and Griff before the dead come down, the question is going to be, why did she let a political situation fester when the reason she came back was to take her throne? Why did she T-pose for 6 months and be like, uh-oh, zombies?
Oh, shit.
Well, I guess I wish I had done anything for 6 months.
For the last 6 months, I sure wish that I had been going and like Aegon the Conqueror securing this submission of Highgarden, the Eyrie.
And you can't write 6 chapters of Daenerys smoking weed and watching Battlestar Galactica to explain why she didn't do anything.
George can't, but you can, and I do want to read
Preston.
Preston. Battlestar Galactica. Okay, so this is Michael's argument. I really like it.
Yeah.
That between 2011, I call it 2012, and 2016, he's writing. And he writes the whole fucking book. He finishes the book. And he goes to his editor in 2016, 2017, and he says, here's my book. Oh, fuck, it's broken. And he realizes, he learns it's broken over like a really unpleasant year. Yeah. Where he goes through and he's like, this needs some rewrites. Actually, it needs a full rewrite. That is coupled with this. And I think the fandom does not focus on this enough. That's coupled with this. Yeah, can you imagine how low his morale must have been?
Yeah, he throws out a book, and then the thing he knows he's working towards is either adapted in the least charitable way possible, or he realizes some structural flaws in it, which means he then is looking at other things he might want to pull or change.
Yes.
So if he's setting up for an ending that he realizes now might not work, that is not just, I have to throw out most of the book. That is, I have to pivot the direction it's going in. Or at the very least, I'm demoralized because the show that was an adaptation of my works is now going to be synonymous with show that explodes.
Yes.
Show that as my favorite Todd and Aaron joke from Mega 64 goes, most likely suicide that was actually a murder.
Game of Thrones. Yes, very correct.
Which is true. That year, nobody else had a suicide that was more likely a murder that year.
So that
Game of Thrones.
That brings us to 2018, 2019. And if I'm George, honestly, dude, I'm not writing. I'm not. I'm not writing. I'm Jay chillin'. I'm like, fuck this. I'm going to go do the pre-production for House of the Dragon. I'm gonna go read some fucking wild cards. I'm gonna go sit down. I'm gonna read some wild cards. I'm gonna clear my head, and I'm gonna go on fucking vacation.
When you get feedback in mass like that, it can be a pause on the work you're doing too. When I released the album, I took a whole week and a half of not doing any music afterwards so I could parse how people felt about it.
Yeah. And I think that's really important, honestly. And like, man, people really like to rag on George Martin. I really hope that's not how this video is coming out.
No, I feel like we are giving him a lot of credit here that what he's doing is hard. And I'd rather he stick to land. I'd rather, so long as he is good to get it out and completed, I'd rather he turn in the better assignment late than the worst assignment early.
Yeah, and I would rather he do that in a way that is healthy for him. And like honestly, if it like for 2018, 2019, he was editing wild cards and doing what was that the like Western show that he was doing?
Yeah.
Which I hear is great. Dark Winds, I think it's called, which I hear is great. I hear that's fantastic. And he was doing the things that made him happy. And then something notable happened in 2020. Zach, what was it?
There was suddenly early at the beginning of the year, the world was tragically changed forever when Mike Bloomberg photoshopped his face on a meatball.
Absolutely correct. And George Martin's response to Mike Bloomberg photoshopping his face on a meatball.
That made actually, as it turns out, a god actually exists and saw that and got so mad he had to take a weekend off to go see a movie in theaters. He wanted to see the adaptation of his favorite musical, Cats, which only made him angrier. So he punished the world with a virus.
I thought we were doing. I thought we were doing a bit on the menu, because in the menu, spoilers for 2022's the menu.
I think so.
The chef invites a bunch of people to the island intentionally with the intention of killing them, and his only motivation for killing John Leguizamo is he didn't like the movie. What he didn't like one of the movies he made. Like, I had one weekend. I have one weekend off. The entire year, I give myself one weekend, and I went and saw Calling Dr. Sunshine. You ruined my only weekend, sir. You die.
No, God saw Cats.
Yeah, that's worse, honestly.
How do I punish everybody involved without making, like, if everybody involved in Cats died of some tragedy after the movie already came out and God already saw it, it would affirm that there's a deity who is mad about that movie and it breaks the veil. So he had to punish the entire world to punish the cast of Cats. The crazy thing,
Taylor Swift.
The crazy thing
It's her fault.
this is ridiculous, but it is like only 2 steps removed from some actual preacher you can find on YouTube.
Yeah, correct. It might be 1 step removed, right? The hedonism in movies today brought this down.
No, he was wrong except for the movie Cats. That's what caused.
Yes.
It wasn't movies in general. It was just Cats 2019.
Correct. And I think I'm happy to actually write this one down.
Preston put that in the books also. In the Winds of Winter.
Yeah, and that's what's gonna get us punished next time.
When you're on saying about why he's bringing his Eldritch Abomination, it's because he saw Cats 2019. He was a cool dude before.
I really like this show. This is stupid. George Martin said that 2020 was the most productive year for the Winds of Winter. I'm going to Michael didn't really touch on this, but I think it was a little implied. And I'm going to take it even a little bit further. Zach, I'm going to say, honestly, that the beginning of COVID is probably when he started. That's probably the start.
I think he started looking at it and writing some things. What I think it gave him the time to do was dedicate fully just sit down sessions. Let's figure out what isn't working. I have nothing else to do. Yep, I can just take a look at what is not working. It's hard to force yourself to edit. I know, because I'm currently editing a video essay I thought I'd have out 2 weeks ago.
I have literally never edited the novel I fucking wrote.
It's so much harder than writing.
It sucks. I hate reading it. It's awful. I need to just give someone like $500 and be like, here, take $500. I never want to look at this again. Do you want to make it decent?
Do you want to swap? Do you want to edit my video essay and then I'll edit your novel?
Zach, you've been threatening to read my novel for 2 years.
Yes, I know.
Turns to camera too.
If you're not releasing it, I don't know. If it's going into the trash can ever being read, my desire to be one of 5 people who has read it goes down dramatically, because the chance that I will want to talk about it if I read it is astronomically high.
Currently, it's in the bin. So if you want to get it, you got to go get it out. You got to go finish it.
Which makes well, the problem is if you're never going to release it, I can only tell people about this really good book that will never come out, which is a bummer because I like to enthusiastically and evangelically recommend things you can go watch right now.
Yeah.
You can go read right now. You can go listen to right now.
Like Preston's fucking fake Winston Winter. Which is so much fun, by the way.
You can check that out. I think they have the first Quentin chapter already.
Do they? I haven't listened to the last, I think, 2. But the ones that I have listened to are stupid and fantastic.
Yeah.
really well written madness.
Yes.
But like, if the question is, Tom, will you edit this thing? I am having a lot of trouble editing. The answer is yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I can't this weekend because I'm doing stuff.
I'll have it done before that. I say lying.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I'll edit your stuff. 100%. Not 100%, but I will do it for this one.
Yes. Well, what we need to do is come up with a master list of projects that are in development hell, and then come up with a plan to get them out, which is what George R. R. Martin did in early
2021. He said that 2021 was not as productive as 2020, but very productive.
Yes. 2020 was where he made the plan, and then the back half of 2020 and 2021 is where he executed it.
Yes. And then, right, so we have this. Bonk. We have this, right? This is 2020. And then we have this down here.
Yeah.
That's a timeline. Supposing he had like a quarter of the book written at the beginning of 2020.
And it's not like he was starting from scratch. He had a draft version. If something worked, he could just yoink, copy, paste it in there, change a couple things around, and that would speed run his book writing process.
Yes.
He could, in 2022, be mostly done, and then spend 2023 putting the finishing touches on it for a summer all-hands meeting. This book is 95% done.
And then, on March 11th, 2024, put out a cryptic-ass Faulkner quote with a blue fucking rose in the title.
Yes.
Titled Words of Wisdom, whose initials are WOW.
Which means he was playing a lot of World of Warcraft.
Yeah! And this is why all the fucking nerds, this is why all the nerds on the internet are like, are we real? Is it real? Are we doing it this time? Are we doing it? And I'm like, do you see? Look at the timeline. If you take Michael's supposition into account, look at how the timeline works.
He basically spent the same time writing version 1 and version 2.
Correct.
Which is about right for either completely rewriting or a very detailed fixing and edit process.
Yep.
Because especially if you took some time to reflect after Game of Thrones ended.
Yep, I've been calling that misery time.
If you took some time to reflect then and came back to the drawing board and started to say, let's sort out what works and what doesn't, that would probably be 2020.
Yep, spent like between March and July of 2020 burning pages, right? Saying, this sucks, get it out of here. Yeah. This sucks, get it out of here.
This sucks, but I need to fix it.
This sucks, I need to fix it. This is I need to fix it, but I can't fix it because Kevin's dead, right?
Yeah.
This sucks, and this sucks, but Quentin isn't here yet. I'm sorry, but Young Griff isn't here yet. Yeah. Can I get Young Griff here?
This rocks, and its place in the timeline is now floating in a sea of nothingness.
Yes.
And I need to reattach it.
Yes. And he started like, and in I don't know, call it September of 2020, he needs 200 chapters, right? He needs 150 chapters, and 15 of them are now floating in this void, and the rest are trash or scraps. And then he starts again.
Yes. That's believable.
And now it's the year of our Lord 2024. And House of the Dragon is good again, right? 2022, House of the Dragon's good. And he's like, oh my God, it's good again. My universe is fucking good again. Holy shit, my universe is good again. People like it again.
And that gives him the motivation to put the finishing touches.
Yeah,
right?
and then he starts punching. And then it's 2023. And he says, all right, y'all nerds. He said last summer in an interview, he said that it was 3/4 done.
Yeah.
75% done. And it is now 1 year later. And think about that timeline. It's like 5-6 years.
If he said over the summer, if he said it before he called his all hands, he could have got it to 80-85% before he called his big meeting with all his publishing crew and said, imminently I will have a version of this that's ready for editing. And I think this time it's good.
This says, and I'm like, I would like to add something to this tableau. This is a Tom quote. This is a statement about me.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Fuck. November of 2016, around the same time that George was having these conversations with the publisher, Tom started to liberally use the phrase chicken counter. Zach knows why. The comments know why too. We're not going to talk about it, but everybody knows why.
It peaked in October of 2020.
Sure did. The counting, not Tom's use of this phrase.
Oh, I think they both did.
Tom was doing a lot of counting.
Both of them peaked in 2020. The funny thing is, we're actually ramping up again.
Don't talk to me. I am not chicken counting right now. What I'm doing is looking at the coop, right? I'm looking at my chickens. I'm looking at the number of eggs I have, and I'm like, I don't know, Zach. That's a lot of eggs.
That's certainly enough to have the requisite amount of chickens.
Yes. If these eggs become chickens, and if we deigned to count them, we would have so many chicken tenders, right? We have so many fucking chicken wings. Oh my god.
Well, and that's the only rub with this is accepting this is the theory as to why it took so long. Risks George R. R. Martin rocking up to his publisher and editor again and saying, "Fuck, I wrote it again.
I did it again.
And it still doesn't work.
I fucking did it again."
That is the risk.
Yeah.
I think that's less likely your second time because you will bite the bullet eventually and say, yeah, it's not going to be as good as I hoped it was.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what else? The reason people are so excited about these things that look like a share button, is these look celebratory.
Yeah, he seems happy with it.
And at this point, I'm not saying that he can't like, I'm gonna use the phrase "fuck it up." That's not what I mean. He didn't fuck it up, right? He
sets these standards for his own publication.
Yes.
At the end of the day, unless he like shows up with a book that says "fart" 5 million times and says this is the Winds of Winter, the publisher,
they're gonna send it, right?
The publisher's gonna send it if he's confident in it. The editor and the publisher sitting down there are to make sure he is happy with it and he is confident is the best version of the book he can give them. And if he says, nah, send it, they will send it.
And this one on June 16th, right? If I'm George, there is no way in hell I post, assuming it's celebratory and assuming it means what we think it means, I'm never sending that until the editor is done with it, right?
Yeah.
I have given it to my editor, and we've done the first pass, and if it needs editing, it is minor editing, and we've gotten the fucking timeline right. Yeah, we got the timeline right this time.
We are confident that we have, this is something in many process. I'm confident I have reached the point where I'm closer to the finish line than I have ever been at any point.
Yep.
And when he says he got, 2020 was his most productive year yet, and 2021 was not as good, but it was still very good, that to me says I'm confident in what I've written, and the fact he is seemingly still optimistic afterwards means that things are on track for how he feels like it. He feels like he is closer to the finish line than the starting line by a significant amount. There's a point in editing any video where I realize that I am X amount of hours away from it being ready to render and upload. And usually that is what inspires me to binge it in a couple hours.
So I fucking bulldoze that
I can finish this in 3 hours is so much more impactful than I can finish this in 9 hours. Because I know I will not work for 9 hours consecutively on something without losing my mind or making critical errors.
I was about to make that counter.
Yes.
I've seen you work for 9 hours. It's wild.
Yes, you have. I can't force myself to do that when I know that that's not 100% the only way it's going to happen. But I can do that for 3 hours of work.
Yes.
I can sit down and say, I can do 3 hours of work and postpone losing my mind until the video is rendered and uploaded. And I will do that 100% of the time.
Yep. You know, I have a good example on this too. I recently saw the finish line on my house. Right.
Yeah.
It was when we started putting drywall in.
Yep.
And
all of a sudden,
I started fucking going there every day.
You could put an itemized list of the things you need that are left to do.
Yep.
And when you have that list and you know how long this task will take, it goes from, you know, a thing you can justify 2 or 3 hours a week to, no, I'm going to finish the goddamn list.
Yep. So, here we sit. Here we sit. There's so many assumptions in this, right? Assuming the timeline on Duncan Egg, right?
Yeah.
So the timeline on Duncan Egg 4. 2027 is our latest.
Yeah.
Right? 2027.
By his own estimation, it'll be done by 2027.
George Martin is going to Worldcon 2024.
Which he said he wouldn't do unless he had an update.
George Martin's blog is way, way more hopeful this year.
Yeah.
Like, the last 6 months, I scrolled back. I scrolled back through 2023 and 2022. And man, is there some, like, 600-word miserable blog posts. And this year, we have aliens winking.
And
over Teddy Roosevelt.
We got our turn to a more positive outlook in 2022.
Yes.
If you go back, you can see he starts talking about Winds as a book that will come out and you will read in 2022.
Yes.
Which tells me, like, I knew that my album, I knew that some of my stories were things that were going to release when they were mostly done. There are stories I've written that I don't know if will ever be out. There are songs I put together for albums that I don't know will ever be a thing. It's when I had pretty much everything I needed that I was telling people, you will listen to this, you will read this, it will be out, that I got there. It was when I had more pruning to do than writing. It was when I had more editing to do than recording. It is when I had more repairs than building that I become confident. And I think George was the same way. I think at that point, he looked at how much he had, he liked what he had, and he said, there will be a Winds of Winter.
Yep. In 2018, with Game of Thrones dying and his manuscript in the garbage, and every time he looks at it, he rips more out. It's worse every time he fucking looks at it.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if in that moment he was like, maybe I should just leave the series, right? Maybe this series is dead. And maybe that's the announcement I should make. Maybe I should just announce that it's dead and I'm never coming back to it. And that I fucking hate it, and it's the worst thing I've ever written.
And I wrote myself into a corner, and I can't write myself out.
And it's my fault. I'm stupid. I'm bad. I hate it.
I killed off very important characters. I made decisions that I can't go back and undo.
This is my fault. Game of Thrones is my fault. Season 8 is my fault. All my fans are saying it.
Emo George R. R. Martin.
Yes. No, really. No, that sounds silly, but he was really upset. He stopped posting.
The Tortured Martins department.
This is when he turned off his social media mentions.
You're right.
Yeah, in like 2017 to 2018. Because everyone was like, hey, this shit sucks. Is this your fault? And there's a part of him that probably was like, yeah, I guess it is. And he's
or
wrong.
at the very least, I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah. Like you say, at the very least, I guarantee there's a part of him that was like, this is my fault, and I'm a failure, and I suck, right? Because I feel that way when things like this happen to me. And it's not a bad thing that these things happened, but it is a thing, and like, man, that puts you in a shitty place. I love this man. He's so fun. And I'm so glad he's doing better.
I just don't assume that anybody else deals with imposter syndrome besides me, because actually it doesn't exist and I'm just a bad...
Oh, man. I got to do my imposter syndrome presentation for maybe on the second channel or something.
Yeah.
The title of that presentation is Imposter Syndrome is Real and You Do Have It. We'll come back to that another time. If that's something you want, put it in the comments. But bear in mind that it's already going to be a no man's land, right? Like, you're going to be dodging bullets just to put anything down there. So it is, and like we get down to here, we get down to summer 2023. Put all your stuff aside, and it's now 2024. What happens in 2024 from now on? Right, it is now.
As we established,
it is June 2024 right now, Zach. What happens next?
Half-Life 3 comes out. We established that earlier.
After that,
after Half-Life 3 comes out,
we talked about, and I actually want to shout out a commenter and subscriber named April May.
Yeah.
Who's very active in the Discord, which is very fun, by the way. One of the most avid posters, has some of the most fun tinfoil I've ever read.
April May is, I think, submitted more to our Discord than the two of us combined, which is incredible. Because we were the first two people in the Discord.
And we talked
April
a lot.
May joined this year.
Yeah. April May is awesome. Very like inquisitive, constantly speculating, and April May was one of the first people who like turned me on to the idea of like a Winds of Winter ARG, something like that. Like,
look,
like
I am all on board
as
if
an
it's an
idea.
ARG. I love ARG shit.
Yeah.
We could do an entire. We could talk all about Marble Hornets for a very long time.
Let's come back to that.
Yes.
Just give like a 2-sentence description on what an ARG is.
An ARG is a participatory game, usually over the internet. Usually there's some like real world elements or some things you can interact with directly, but sometimes it's completely digital. But the idea is that you are interacting on multiple ways that seem real with a piece of fiction.
Yes.
ARG, like Marble Hornets is ARG light, but they would post on, like, they would respond to people in tweets, they would answer comments, pretending the universe was real.
Yep, fully in character.
And they also had another channel using YouTube as a medium. Remember when you could make response videos? They had a second channel who would make video responses that were canonical in the universe to make it seem more real.
Another one that I really liked was, we've talked about, not Twin Peaks for kids. What the hell's the name of it? Gravity Falls.
Yes.
Gravity Falls, at the end of every episode, had ciphers in the credits, and they would flash on for like 3 frames. And if you decoded all these ciphers over the course of a season, it would give you clues, and you could take those clues and take them to a website, and that website those clues would let you log into the website.
Yeah.
Very cool shit, right? Zach, what is happening right now? We talked about this. You and I originally talked about like and this is not suggesting that an ARG exists, but if George was like, hey, in March, right over here, in March was like, hey guys, I'm done.
Yeah.
I will be done in 3 months. It is finished. I have all the pages. I am on edits now. What do you as the publisher do?
We got to build something. We can't just say the book's coming out in September.
Yeah.
We have to prepare a big announcement. Well, also, there's a show. There's a show running right now where you could put the greatest timed commercial ever right at the end of the season. Be like, by the way, the Winds of Winter, 6 weeks.
Yes. Right. And like the showrunners have already, and the showrunners and the like marketing team have already shown the ability to hide things in the background, to be really subtle with the stuff they do.
Yes.
So it is the year of our Lord, 2024. It is, Zach has started laughing again. Unprompted, I think. Is it just the year of our Lord that was funny?
No.
What?
No, I had a terrible thought that I'm also going to say out loud.
Oh, God.
We're going to get an alternate cut of the blood and cheese scene where they don't cut for discretion, and then they pull out
a copy of the book. Yeah. Yeah. Or the last episode where the funeral procession, but like the head actually falls out, and instead a copy of the Winds of Winter drops in the mud.
And everybody in the crowd just starts fighting over the book.
Yeah. Oh my God. Like the post-credits scene of Deadpool, where he walks out in a bathrobe and he's like, what were you expecting? Sean Bean in a saucy little leather number? Get out of here. And then he goes back to reading The Winds of Winter. So, this is my shot. This is the shot that I'm calling.
Okay.
Okay? So, would you please look up the premiere date of episode 8 of Pass the Dragon?
Probably... Are they doing a mid-season break?
I don't think so.
That's good, because I don't want to deal with that shit.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. They're gonna give the awards to something else. House of the Dragon. I'm very sorry. They're gonna punish you for the fact that they gave awards to the last few seasons of Game of Thrones and regret it.
Yeah. You actually started in award debt.
Yeah.
Right. You started in goodwill debt and you bought all that back.
The reason they never gave any awards to Better Call Saul is because they're like, okay, we gave every award in the book to Breaking Bad. They're gonna complain if we do it again. We'll give it to, I don't know, Game of Thrones. Oh shit. Well, Succession. Nobody can possibly be upset over Succession, which they were right. It was fine all the way through. I haven't finished it yet. So
yeah, I hear Succession was totally fine.
You know, everybody after Succession ended told me I needed to watch it, which tells me they stuck the landing.
Yes, which is right. That's what I started doing after Deep Space Nine.
Yeah,
I started telling everyone I've ever met, you got to watch Deep Space Nine.
They stuck the landing. Holy shit! Yeah,
it's good. Holy shit! Oh my god, it finished strong.
As previously stated, they could not have run another season and stuck the landing.
Yes,
they did stick the landing.
And like it got shaky, Worf, but it was good.
Yes.
Okay, so Zach,
I'm looking up the episode guide right now.
Premiere date of episode 8. House. It's red. Hang on. House of the Dragon.
August 4th, 2024.
Season 1, Season 2, Episode 8. Premieres on. Say it again.
August 4th. August 4th.
2024. If I, taking all of this to be true, right? Assuming that all of this is true, 100% of it, which is a huge assumption.
Mm-hmm.
Taking all of this to be true, if I am the marketing team for Bantam Books, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have stopped everything else that I've been doing, and I've locked all the fucking doors like a Marvel movie. I've been like, no one leaves.
And with every other George R. R. Martin thing, and I don't know if he's like their only client or like, I'm sure he's a bigger publisher, even if he just has his own like prestige publication. It's definitely under somebody else's umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
Every other thing, even just his thing, could be a modest hit. You're almost certain to make money. You rarely get a like book this big that is going to like put you in the black for the rest of the year. Right?
Yeah.
This is we had a good year. George turned in a main series book. We don't have to worry. We can take some creative risks next year. We might have to for the tax purposes anyways.
Yeah. We are about to have the best year of our entire fucking lives.
You need to make sure you don't scuff this.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
people can't find out The Winds of Winter came out yesterday. They need to know the date. They need to have it memorized. They need to. I can remember the original first date that was announced for Super Smash Bros. Brawl coming out.
Yeah.
They ended up delaying it, which means that I don't actually remember when it did come out. But
you remember the date that they wanted you to remember.
Yes. Still to this day, I remember December 8th. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. That's when Winds is coming out also, by the way.
Yeah.
It will have Lucario in it also.
Unironically, that is what I'm pitching. I am pitching December 1st.
Wow.
Is my pitch. On August 4th, would you please look up the date of Worldcon, by the way? On August 4th, the premiere of House of the Dragon. In, like, all the way the fuck at the end. All the way at the end. After the credits, after the dumbass fucking, like, interview with the directors, all the way at the end. When is Worldcon? When is it?
It's August 8th.
August 8th? August 8th from August 4th?
Totally.
Yeah. Okay. Hear me out. Listen.
Announce on the 4th?
No.
What's up, bitches?
No, you don't announce. You don't announce on the 4th. You don't announce on the 4th. All the way at the end, tucked all the way at the end of the season finale, you have like something super subtle, like at the end of the credits, it starts to snow over the credits. And then someone blows a horn very far away. And then it snows over the end of the credits. Right? Something like that, right? You get people fucking...
No, you do a full... If you're going to commit to the ARG bit, you fully set up some sort of puzzle to solve.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to know what it is. but you can set the date to solve it, where all information will be revealed to 4 days later at his Worldcon appearance, where George can come out with a like draft copy of the book with a cover and say it's ready. I don't know if I believe that, but the timing is fucking perfect.
This is how I would do it. Yep, this is how I would do it. This is what I would do.
You have a week in early August that would be the ideal time to say it's done.
As a matter of fact, this is actually not how I would do it. This is how I would do it given all the information that I have now about the first 2 episodes. The first 2 episodes, and I've looked, do not appear to have anything Wins related in them.
Mm-hmm.
In them or after them. If I was the publishing company, I would put teeny, tiny little things, right? Right at the end, right at the beginning. Just the tiniest fucking things. I would pay HBO so much money to get that shit in. Just build a little bit every week. Because I think it was Quinn who said there's no way it gets announced before the end of the season, right? Because it will overshadow.
It would detract from
yes.
the show. And if you're doing your brand synergy nonsense, I mean, there is some real stuff behind it. You can't have episode 3's discussion and episode 4's discussion drowned out by
oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Who do you think the prologue chapter, all the conversations we've been having for years on cocaine level, like frantic energy. Who's the prologue? What we're probably going to do if we get an announcement. Okay, call your shot now. Who's the prologue chapter?
Yep. Get him on record.
Yep.
And let's do like we do around elections. Let's do like a drinking contest.
Yeah.
Right. We'll do like a betting spreadsheet.
for a peel back of the curtain, everybody. Every election season, Tom and I predict a bunch of things. We have a spreadsheet with the number of shots we bet on it. And we actually have a backlog. The last 2 years, we still have not drank through.
That's true.
So we have 2 years of drinking to catch up on.
And we will call that House of the Drinking.
House of the Drinking. Yeah. That's pretty good. So we will do that, and we will add wins. The second is announced, we will make predictions on who's living and who's dying, who has the prologue chapter.
We're gonna do like a huge stream where we go over every one of our favorite theories.
Yes.
That will be that will be proven or disproven in Wins, right? And we'll hype up some of those. The fandom's gonna fucking explode. So this is, hang on, I gotta redo that. That sucks. So this is my prediction, Zach, and please let me just like really like stress this bit down here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm stressing this bit down here because none of this is
anything real.
Yes, right.
It's not like we were tipped off. It's not like we're friends with George Publisher. This is none of my dad works at Nintendo sort of thing. We don't know and we're speculating.
Yes.
And we fully admit that.
Yep, I got no idea. I'm just some idiot. But if we take all these things to be true, this is how I would do it. Right?
And the writing process to 2 other people who have done massive creative projects feels similar to struggles we have had in the past, where the process of rewriting something is significantly harder than the process of writing something.
So I want, like, once again, big shout outs to Quinn.
Yeah, and Michael.
And Michael. There have been it's not just them, there have been a few others, but I just haven't, I haven't watched them as dedicatedly. So like huge shout outs to them for being the ones to speculate on this. Big shout out to April May for like not a lot of the evidence that we discussed like is here, but like April put me on the scent of a lot of these. This is I have a call to action at the end of this. If you're still here, first off, join the Patreon. Second off, if you want to hear all the outtakes from this episode, join the Patreon.
Ooh, goodness, yeah.
You okay?
I have hiccups.
My God.
Edit, since you're editing it anyways, just edit out all my...
Okay. Why'd you leave your keys upon the
table?
Hiccup. Grab your keys, put on a little.
Hiccup.
I'm not cutting this.
Okay.
I have a call to action at the end of this. I want y'all freaking nerds, if I was the marketing team, I would be hiding hints in House of the Dragon.
I would be hiding hints other places too.
Yes. I want you guys looking, and I want to hear about them. I want them in the comments.
Once we're giving you permission to go full conspiracy.
Yes, this is the first.
The important thing is it doesn't matter if your stuff is completely insane tinfoil, because it's about a book coming out. We'll have the answer by the end of the year, and it affects nobody if you're wrong or right. All you get is bragging rights.
Yes. And this is me setting up the Interesting Nerd Club bragging rights for a teaser either on August 4th or spread between now and August 4th. And an announcement on August 8th.
I agree.
These are my, yep.
On August 4th, they will announce a release date for Silk Song.
Yeah! What's Silk Song?
That's the Hollow Knight sequel.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's Half-Life 3 and it's The Winds of Winter. And also, like...
Is it a Brandon Sanderson book that everyone's been waiting for a long time?
That too, I think. There's a couple other things that have famously long production cycles.
On August 8th, the Dresden Files book 13 will come out.
Yes.
Not be announced.
It'll just be done. You'll wake up and it'll be on your bed. It'll be under your pillow.
You will just wake up.
Yeah.
Watch movies.
It's no, there's a couple others.
Yeah.
Del Toro's Mountains of Madness movie will be announced.
Yeah. And Del Toro Quest, the Netflix adaptation. Guillermo del Toro. I should make that a Jeopardy clue. That's pretty funny.
Yes.
Zach, what do you think?
I've been thinking this year is probably our most likely year to get a serious announcement, and either this year or early next year is our most likely release window for similar reasons. And I had worked through, I think I mentioned when people brought this up at the end of our last live stream, I buy the theory that there is a manuscript of Winds that was unworkable, because I've written myself in corners before.
Yep.
You've written yourself in corners before.
Yep.
They're hard to write out of, and sometimes writing yourself out of a corner causes way more issues than you got writing yourself in.
Yep.
And you just need to surgically cut off part of a project and then be like, fuck, what do I put in there?
Yep.
And
if you do that like 4 times in a row, it stops being surgical and you just start taking a cleaver and just chopping parts out.
You don't have a book anymore. You have a collection of chapters you like in the same universe.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to George R. R. Martin. This all makes sense.
Zach, this is my theory.
I think it's possible.
I'm not going to say confirmed on this one.
Nor am I.
This does not seem reasonable to say confirmed.
We can't say for sure about this one, but the good news is by mid 2025, we will be able to say, yeah, mostly right, or nope, completely off.
I'm so excited because by the end of this year, this video is going to have some comments under it.
Yeah.
Right? In December of 2024, one way or the other, there's going to be some fun comments under this video.
Yep. And the other fun thing is, I've thought about, this is a great thing to think about if we do get an announcement. All the theories we have made so far, we're going to get some, like, we're at what? How many videos on this channel?
We're at over 100. We're at like 100.
Most of them are theory videos.
Yeah.
Not all of them. I don't think we're at 100 theories, but God, we're in the high double digits.
Yeah, we will probably get
several
to
Y episodes where we postulate possibilities.
Yeah. And there's that one video with Mira where we do 5 theories in a row.
We have the mini theories with Rest. We have also just live streams where we speculated on stuff. We have some takes that it is inconceivable to me that we will get all the way through Winds of Winter without some serious credibility or damage to at least one thing.
Yes.
And it'll be fun, because I guarantee there'll be people who are like, okay, I finished the Winds of Winter. Time to re-listen to every single Ink theory and tell them whether it was right, wrong, or unconfirmed.
I'm so excited to tell them how wrong they were, because you better goddamn believe that I'm going to do that. I'm going to go through every one of Michael's videos, Every Michael Talks About Stuff video, every single one.
I'm gonna go through every random internet guy video.
Yep. Every single Mirror Reads fairy lore video, I'm gonna go through everyone.
Yep.
I'm gonna be like, damn it, I guess it was elves.
Man, imagine being the only person who called that Oberyn switched out with somebody else and he's actually alive. Like, that one ends up being real.
We have some of those. We have some of those kind of those like 360 no scopes with zero evidence. Dude, can you imagine if Sorella Greyjoy is like, can you imagine?
Sorella is actually Rhaenys and marries Euron Greyjoy.
Yeah.
That would be okay. Well, this one guy called it.
You're like, boom, from way down.
So Tom, I think now is a good time to get out ahead and say the Pacific Rim theory and the Ravens Endgame theory, probably not your average Baratheon theory. Sorry, that's not even, we didn't write it, but I am going to say, I think those probably don't happen.
I think you might be right. I think you might be correct.
I also want to talk
except for the Nacho Baratheon.
That's true. That one's confirmed. But I do want to say there are a couple other ones we should probably address.
Yeah.
The Joffrey Rabies theory. George R. R. Martin's going to put explicitly that happened in the book. That one's
like in the prologue, Jane Westerling is going to be like, "Can you believe that Joffrey died of rabies?"
Well, no,
and then she's going to die.
The character he regrets killing off is an unnamed character we didn't know was going to revolutionize veterinary science. But because he was committed to that character doing that, he just feels like selling out to have another character do it. Right?
Yeah. George Martin has said that every time he writes a new character, he gives them a secret, and that guy's secret was that Joffrey died of rabies.
Yes. And it would just be wrong to reuse the secret.
Oh, man. What?
That's why it took so long to write.
Zach, thank you very much for joining me. Do you have, please, if you've gotten this far, please join our Patreon, subscribe, please like the video, because this is going to get disliked into the ground.
No, are you kidding? People like this one.
It is going to play kind of clickbaity.
Well, it's going to have a picture of Wynn's cover on it.
Yeah.
It's going to have George R. R. Martin. It's in a red arrow pointing to him, and it says "done?" ?
Yeah. that is exactly Quinn's. That's exactly Michael's cover. That's exactly his thumbnail. He described it. It has George Martin like at a panel with the picture of the Winds of Winter, and then him with a word bubble saying "soon." I love this phantom. Zach, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Yeah.